Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, we've got a mystery movie art canvas to unveil. If you saw my previous video, I gave the clues out as to what it might be. Yes, it's our friend. You know him, you love him. It's Steve 007 Smith, super Kilt-Man channel contributor extraordinaire. The guy that has single-handedly redecorated all the walls of the vast mansion itself. Things like that, behind, over there, everywhere. There's one sort of coming into the corner of the frame up there. They're everywhere. There's hundreds of movie canvases and you can't have too many. They're all fantastic. And Steve's little trickery is that he will find artwork, be it original movie artwork or fan artwork, and he'll do his own little magic on it. He'll change things around, change the colour, change the detail here, put a little subtle in-joke in the credits if it's a movie poster, and then he sends it off and it gets all put together and then sent to me. Now, then he sends me clues as to what it might be. This has been going on for years now and it's been wonderful. I love it. My track record of getting these right it's going to be very high. It's 95%, I think, and around about there. There's only been a couple of times he's thrown me a massive curveball and I've gone down one stupid track and been proved completely wrong. But I gave the clues out yesterday in the previous video to give you guys a chance, because I know people keep asking, when you do these, can you put the clues out first so we can play the game as well? Well, I did do that. And there's been a few people who've said, little possibilities. Now, the clues were thus. This was a film from the golden age of video. Now, being me and Steve are the same sort of age and into the same sort of movies and come from the same sort of background, really, that we've got a bit of a telepathy going on there. So I know what he's talking about right away. You're talking 1980, 81, 82, 83, the golden age of VHS and Betamax. And it was a notorious B movie, infamous for its gore and violence, and a very misleading poster. Okay. And he said, audiences now, it's along the lines of this, audiences now might not know too much about the movie. Straight away, I thought of one film which had infamous at the time of the video nasty craze, which was 81, 82, 83, and had a very misleading poster, sort of, but it was a poster depicting things that you don't see in the movie itself, and yeah, it is notorious. And straight away I thought, it's zombie flesh eaters. This is when he messaged me the details, the clues. I went straight away. I made references to the dead and all that, and a bloody splinter in the eye and all that kind of stuff. I made references because although he sent many posters and artwork from that era, he hasn't yet done zombie flesh eaters and eye splinter in the eye. So I thought of that, and I messaged him back. And then literally within about 10 minutes of thinking about it, I thought, oh, no, it's not. It's not that at all. It's not. Because the poster for Zombie Flesh Eaters, one of many posters for it, but the main one that we got in the UK on my favourite poster of the Zombie Flesh Eaters phenomenon is the hand coming out the ground, which of course you do have in the movie, but in the background, in a very beautifully surreal image, you have thousands of the undead, all disheveled, dressed in rags, descending upon this sort of very surreal looking Manhattan skyline. So they're all heading into New York. You do not see that in the movie. With a very sickly looking sun, sort of, is it dusk or is it dawn? You can't quite tell. Of course, the film was a rip-off of Dawn of the Dead. But it's a fantastic movie in its own right. And I have covered it massively via the movie itself and the masks which were brought out from Trick or Treat Studios because of the movie. So I then thought, it isn't that. No, it's not. It's another film which is from that era, very notorious, and has a very misleading poster. Misleading in the fact that the imagery you've got there is of a muscle-bound, heroic guy with a motorcycle helmet on and an acetylene torch. Actually, in the poster, it's a mocked-up flamethrower. But he's sleeveless, and the visor's down, you can't see his face. And the tagline is, "If you're lying, I'll be back." In fact, there it is. The Exterminator. There's the original copy on Betamax. Alongside Scanners they're the first two movies I ever got on home video. In 81 it would be. And I'd be like 11 years old. My mum, now sadly passed on, big kilt mama, for Christmas Day, she bought me a Betamax Sanyo VTC 5000 top loader with black and white picture search and black and white freeze frame. And she bought me two movies. Now, back in those days, you, Joe Public, could not go out and buy movies. Your video library got the movies, but you couldn't go and buy sell-through, as it was called later in the 80s, when you could buy stuff. And at that time, you really couldn't get much ex-rental stuff either, because they hadn't been rented them for long. So my mum found out where to go, a video wholesalers, a distributors, and she got two movies for me. And they both cost about £70 each, and that's back in 81. £70 each. And she bought me a Betamax video recorder. And she bought me The Exterminator and Scanners, because I put on a list of about 100 movies. There was Mad Max there, there was Dawn of the Dead there was, oh God, Friday the 13th. There was so many movies at Halloween. Obviously I got them all, but you know, not that particular Christmas morning. So I unwrapped this Betamax shaped machine, and I was horrified that it was Betamax and not VHS. And I was like, oh, it's Betamax, the most ungrateful brat in the world. I really do kick myself over this all the time, of just how my mum must have felt when she saw, you know, I've got him his dream, because I was a massive, well, from an early age, my first memories of her watching King Kong, 1933's King Kong, sitting on my mum's lap watching it on a Sunday afternoon. And I'm falling in love with movie scores and movies, and the obsession which shaped my life and this channel was born. And then she went and got me, you know, movies. In the meantime, before then, I had a Binatone 3-in-1, a cassette player, radio, and 4.5 inch black and white TV screen built into one. So what I would do when the likes of Halloween was on and Assault on Precinct 13, I would put little cassettes in and I would record the movie audio wise. So I'd have the soundtrack and the gunshots and the screams and all that. It's no way of getting movies for me, so I could watch them again and again, just for me. And yeah, there was, because video, VHS and Betamax came out, and Betamax was better. Beta equals better, technically superior, smaller cassettes, and they were longer cassettes as well, for if you're recording purposes. They were better and more durable, more reliable. But JVC, VHS just swamped the market, and Beta got pushed right out. But I still have hundreds and hundreds of Betamax cassettes, and hell of a lot of VHS as well. And I loved it. So my mum bought me Scanners and Exterminator, because they're on my list. I was way underage, but I've been seeing movies in our local flea pit anyway for the last couple of years. Even before then, I was going and seeing Hills of Eyes and stuff like that, and The Brood, you know. So she didn't mind. That's good parenting. That good parenting. She trusted me, and so I got those. Now Steve, knowing the saga of me getting those two movies, my first ever owned movies, he sent me a canvas of Scanners, David Cronenberg Scanners, which I've covered a lot on the channel as well. In fact, I reenacted the head explosion scene. I'll put the link below. That's important, by the way. That's important, because it's something I was going to do in this video. But anyway, and he put a little extra bit in the credits down there about the dawn of a new age and of entertainment and that, like, because he knew that they were the first two movies I got, and Scanners is one of my favourite movies of all time, as indeed is The Exterminator. So, The Exterminator. Yeah, that's what I think is in that box. It fits all the clues. A notorious movie from the golden age of video. A misleading poster, because that image you see there, you don't see Robert Ginty, who plays John Eastman, who is the Exterminator. You will see in a motorcycle helmet riding a stolen motorcycle, but with the visor down and all that, and you will see him wielding a acetylene blowtorch in one scene of intimidation. But you won't see him sleeveless, you won't see him ripped and like bronzed, no. But he does deliver the line, "If you're lying, I'll be back." But that poster became quite infamous because that's so not him that's in the movie, in that image there. Doesn't matter. Right. I do not have the soundtrack to The Exterminator by Joe Renzetti. It's very hard to get hold of, to be honest. There was a vinyl got released. It went within half a day, you know. And trust me, I've been looking for bits of that soundtrack. The two songs, the opening credits and the end credits, yeah, I've got them. But I'm not playing them because I've got a feeling that possibly might incur some kind of copyright thing. So I'm playing a similar sort of score from a Charles Bronson movie called 10 to Midnight, and scored by Robert O'Ragland. And that's a film which is very similar in some ways to The Exterminator. And The Exterminator, I'm saying honest, I'm not even sure if that's going to be in the box. No, I'm 99.999999999 recurring convinced that it's Exterminator. I just am. It's my second choice after Zombie Flesh Eaters, which, when I think more about Flesh Eaters, it really could be it, I suppose. Oh God, no, I'm doubting myself now. Oh no. Cheers, Joel. Cheers, Steve. Cheers, Steve. Many, many thanks. And don't worry, I'm going to open the box in a minute. But The Exterminator fits into a small select group of movies from the 70s and into the very early 80s, which depict New York and Manhattan, the Bronx and Brooklyn in all their seedy realism. And they cover a few genres. You've got the likes of Cruising, you've got Mean Streets, you've got Taxi Driver, you've got Wolfen, one of my favourite movies of all time, Wolfen, which uses same locations as in The Exterminator, the South Bronx and Brooklyn, but depicting that city, Manhattan, and its environs before Starbucks and yuppies came in with massive rejuvenation. And then, of course, after the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers come down, everything got changed again. Obviously, the whole landscape was changed. And a lot more money and rejuvenation took place. But things like The Warriors as well, and Night of the Juggler, all at the same sort of time. The Exterminator is similar in many ways to Death Wish, you know, with Charles Bronson, Michael Winner, but James Glickenhaus, who made The Exterminator, did not see Death Wish until after he made The Exterminator, and he was driven to make The Exterminator. He wrote and directed it, driven to make that movie because of all the headlines he was seeing in Manhattan. People getting killed all the time, people being chased to their deaths. They'd fall off a high rise or off a bridge whilst being chased by a gang. And one particular story was about a young lad who was beaten and paralysed, so disfigured and paralysed for the rest of his life by just a street gang attacking him. So, you know, and he thought, well, someone's going to have to stand up and fight against this. So, of course, the vigilante thing about, you know, one man going against, you know, the seedy underbelly, the street gangs, the thugs, the muggers, the rapists, the mafia, the pimps, the pederasts, and you know, just all the scumbags of the city. Just thought of another film which fits into that, Maniac by Bill Lustig with Joe Spinell and Caroline Munro. Effects by Tom Savini. Notorious again. Hang on a minute. That fits the bill as well. Oh my God. It is, you know, the golden age of video. Maniac was 1980. Bill Lustig. Gory, notorious, very notorious. Been remade with Elijah Wood playing the Maniac himself. Yeah, Frodo himself. It's a good movie as well. Would anyone nowadays even remember it? Possibly not. It's notorious, but you know, it's of its time. Massive cause celeb. Oh my God. Misleading poster though. Was it a misleading poster? He does scalp women, and the poster is, "I warned you not to go out tonight." And it's a shot from behind, and he's the dishevelled slob that is Joe Spinell's character, the Maniac, with a big butcher knife, and he's carrying a scalp. And you know, well, is that misleading? Oh, do you know what? Suddenly now I'm like, oh, bollocks. It could be anything. Oh, I hate this. This happens all the time. I get to the point of like, I'm gonna unveil it, and I'm there. I know what it is, and then other things will just go. Little synapses. Synapses. Here's the full uncut version of The Exterminator. And who released it? Can you read that? It's there. Synapse. Things come together. So, okay. Ski and do. What's your ski and do? That is your wee Scottish dirk, your Scottish dagger that lives down the side of your boot. Times of stress. I will now cut into this. Now, the problem, as regular viewers know, is that sometimes when I open this, and the canvas focus inside is always it's face down against another cardboard backing piece. So even when I bring the thing out, you know, it's sealed up, and it's the cellophane covering all over that. So even if I opened it now and lifted up, you still couldn't see what it was until you break the cellophane and then raise it up, take it out. And as I always do, you guys will see it first. But caveat here, disclaimer here, it might come out upside down. I'm not even sure if it's going to be portrait or landscape, so it could be any which friggin' way around, but I'm sure we'll work it out. So, what am I saying? It's a film from the golden age of video. It's a notorious B movie. Audiences now might not even know much about it. It's infamous for its gore and brutality and violence. And what was the other one? A misleading poster. Well, The Exterminator by James Glickenhaus massively fits the bill for all that. Can I just say now that if I'm completely wrong and it isn't The Exterminator, it doesn't matter. It's going to be fantastic, whatever it is. But then I'll have to suddenly change tack and go, oh my God, it's this. Like, start talking about a film I hadn't been thinking about. And I have mentioned the film Night of the Juggler with James Brolin a few times. And I haven't got the movie. It's very hard to get hold of that movie now. And that is a great urban, just one man out for revenge. They've kidnapped his daughter and he goes on a rampage. See how I'm bringing this up now in case it's Night of the Juggler. And he encounters a street gang twice and has to beat the shit out of them. And corrupt cops and all sorts. And it's a real ragged, edged, raw urban thriller. Wonderful movie. Ski and do. Let's get into this. Right. I'm going to pop this now. Okay, right, here we go. It's in here. Let's alley up. As you can see, it's all sealed in. I'll now slit the cellophane. By the way, up until this moment, I was absolutely fucking convinced that it was the Exterminator, that we're going to see that guy get revealed, possibly upside down or back to front or whatever, like, I don't know. But and as I say, yeah, one of the films which are my favourite movies of all time, Wolfen, depicts New York at this particular raw stage in its evolution. And Steve has already sent me a Wolfen bit of fan artwork, which is wonderful. Okay, right, it's coming up now. I'm going to put the main title of 10 to Midnight on. You'll see it first. I'm not looking, not looking. Well, I was right, and fucking hell. That is a better image than that, than just in the sort of black sort of set background, but with New York and the Twin Towers as well. And the jungles of Vietnam. Betamax, Intervision. Oh man. Oh mate, I'm actually... How can you be moved by, an image from a notorious violent vigilante flick? My God, mate, you've worked wonders with that. That's fucking amazing, that is. If you're lying, I'll be back. The Exterminator. Starring Christopher George. I'll come on to the cast. Samantha Eggar, Robert Ginty. Written and directed by James Glickenhaus. And here's what threw me. Done it again. He's done it again. Intervision, which is the distributor in the UK, Intervision. Betamax. Can you see there? Nora Macanini, that's my mum, that's Big Kilt Mama. Christmas 1981, when she bought that, this, and that. My mum died last year, and back end of last year. I have mentioned this a few times. Been an agonising time the last few months. Really, really. And isn't it bizarre that what a courtesy of Steve, she's brought back to me in the ways that mean the most to me, are bonding over movies. My mother was an actress on stage and screen, and yet she didn't like violent movies at all. Loved horror films, classic horror films, but didn't like stalk and slash and didn't like this at all. But she recognised that I had a passion for escapism and fantasy and action and adventure and thrills, even of a much darker slant than what she would go for herself. But you don't know, they're all actors, it's all performance, and she wouldn't hold back. She'd let me have these things and let me explore them for myself, and It is bizarre, actually, to have my mum's name and him in him there with his that's the propped up sort of flamethrower version of the acetylene torch, which Robert Ginty will use to intimidate one of the ghetto ghouls who Robert Ginty plays John Eastman, Vietnam veteran, who at the start of the movie, an explosive start of the movie. The movie just begins. You get the it's Avco Embassy, who also did Escape from New York and The Fog as well. For John Carpenter, did this, and it opens with a huge explosion and a guy, a high fall stuntman, tumbling upside down through the air like this, pouring through the air down. It's Indian Dunes. They filmed the opening sort of flashback to Vietnam, where our main, not him, not that guy. That is not Robert Ginty. But Robert Ginty's character, John Eastman, is captured by the Viet Cong alongside his best buddy, played by Steve James. Steve James, the late great Steve James, in so many movies, muscle bound and charismatic, wonderful, wonderful guy, and another poor bastard who's caught as well, and they're strung up and they're interrogated, and but that scene is shot in Indian Dunes, California, and the guy Clay Lacey who flies this movie has some terrific opening shots of helicopters and huge explosions. It really does. It cost $2 million to make this movie, but it recouped it in opening weekends. It was one of the biggest independent movies ever made at that time, and a few other records as well. It had the biggest actual explosion in New York City at that time. That's probably been, beaten by now. God. That image is iconic, but that is even better. The dichotomy, New York, the Twin Towers being there, Vietnam here, him in the middle. That image, Steve, fucking hell, you've nailed that there. That is just beyond. And with my mum there, I've got to get back on track. Kilt-Man, just get on track. But you absolutely blow me away with that. I was right, but that doesn't matter now. It's way better than I ever possibly imagined. Where was I going with that? The guy Clay Lacey who flies the helicopter in to rescue I'll talk about that scene in a bit more depth in a minute. He's also the guy that dropped the helicopter on Vic Morrow and the two Vietnamese kids for The Twilight Zone, the movie, literally 2 years after this, and killed them. And James Glickenhaus, who was the maker of this movie, was like, they tried to haul him into the tribunal about that in a big court case, saying, well, you shot a movie where you flew a helicopter over people's heads. And he said, no, go and look at the movie again. With editing and photography, it looks like we're flying over people's heads. We're not. No one was underneath that helicopter at the time. I'm not that stupid. So he didn't get called in. And the people who were going to bring it said, watch the movie again. And they watched Exterminator again. And they went, yes, you're right. We got it wrong. But Clay Lacey, I'm not sure if he got done or not, because the whole thing was completely, and Twilight Zone was so unsafe, and it dropped. And they filmed it, get this, they filmed that sequence in the same place that the opening sequence of the Exterminator, the Nam flashback, was filmed, Indian Dunes. The exact same place. Oh dear God. So you obviously bring that guy back. Well, he's flown helicopters through these canyons before, over water. Anyway, but that opening sequence, James Glickenhaus says that it rained incessantly there, which was only helped to give it the sort of jungle Vietnam ambience our hero, who will become the Exterminator, is captured alongside his best buddy Steve James and this other poor bastard. And you have the Viet Cong officer is played by a fella called, I've got it written down somewhere. Shit, where is it? It's I thought it's Tony Chung or something like that. George Chung. And George Chung will play a VC officer in Rambo First Blood Part 2. He's the guy that when Rambo was strung up nude from the mud and the shit, and he cuffs him with a rifle butt or a pistol butt, I can't remember now, but clubs him out. But he's also the guy that starts shooting at Rambo when Rambo's topless and on the rampage with explosive tipped arrows, and he fires the arrow and blows this guy up, and you only see his two boots left there with smoke coming out of them. It's fantastic. That's the same guy, but in this movie, holy shit, what he does in this movie. I've mentioned Steve James and our hero Robert Ginty, and like Steve James, they've kind of done the wrong thing with him. The VC, I've just got him like, wire wrapped, behind his back like that. But they've got Robert Ginty and this other guy strung between two poles. So they're on their knees, but they're strung between two poles and wooden poles. And George Chung, when he's got a big machete like this. Oh, I was prepared. When do you attack, Lompard? And he just goes like, So the VC officer just walks back and goes over to the other poor guy who's just twisting there, like that. And just, it's so weird. It just goes in the back of his neck, like that. And then the others react with shock and look over. And then he just goes in slow motion, slices through his neck, and the head it goes blood. His eyes roll over, and his head just goes in slow motion and hangs by a thread like that. That was infamous. In the UK and many other territories, that was cut. You got that bit and the head going over, but what you didn't get, and when you saw in the full uncut director's version, is that blood fountains out from the neck, and the VC officer, George Chung, just walks back slowly, wipes some blood off the blade and goes like that, and then goes back over to our hero. When do you attack, Lompard? And he goes, July 31st. And he goes, that's what our spies said. In other words, yeah, so it's bullshit that. So he's going to do him as well. And in the meantime, Steve James has brought his wire cuffed hands over. It's like piano wire, and he manages to get him over and get one of the guards and garrots him, and he peels his neck down after being garroted. And that guy's carrying an M60, an American M60, which Steve James then uses and takes out all the guards and everybody and saves his best buddy. It's funny how in that movie, one guy in fatigues wielding an M60, suddenly you get First Blood, then you get Rambo First Blood Part 2, and you get Chuck Norris missing in action wielding M60s, and then every other fucking hero in Vietnam or jungle-inspired war movie will carry an M60, and which you can't do. It's not that easy, folks. To be honest. And but it happened here first. It happened in Exterminator first. So you've got like his name's Michael Jefferson, the Steve James character. They've lost the other guy. They then get rescued from there, and helicopters come back in and all that. And if you look at that sequence as well, you've got like they get mortar fire comes in, so they're under fire getting back out again. And you don't leave your own people behind. You don't leave bodies behind. But it's a movie. It's an exploitation pick, and the poor guy who got beheaded, or 99% beheaded. His head's still hanging off like that. The mortar comes in, it sets fire to his body, so he's actually on fire as well in the background. If you look at that scene as well, you'll see a trapdoor sending someone who gets shot into the water as well. And if you look as well, George Chung, who's the VC officer who does the beheading, he's been shot and he's trying to get away in the water. And our hero, the exterminator, will, with George Chung, the VC officer's own automatic, will shoot him through the head, and it comes outside of his head like that. But then when all the rescuers come in, all the special forces or whoever they're meant to be come in, like the Yanks come in, and they're dragging them to safety to the landed helicopter. They're walking all over George Chung, who's meant to be dead now. He's going, he's coughing on water, and he's looking at these. Like, you can see he's being trampled on. But I love that it's low budget filmmaking with huge ambition, and The Exterminator, which takes its precedence from, although Glickenhaus says, no, I did not look at Death Wish. It's a David Garfield's original novel and, of course, Michael Winner's movie. Didn't look at that. It was the headlines that made this happen for me, and the fact that I was seeing American veterans coming back and having no life when they came back, being destroyed, distraught, traumatized and abused and neglected by the system, which we know is true. Look at Johnny Rambo, it's exactly what happened to him. And when they come back to America, back home, our two boys, Steve James and Robert Ginty. Robert Ginty, who's from The Paper Chase as well, and other movies, Coming Home, another Vietnam era movie with some great actors in there as well. John Voight's in there, and it's wonderful stuff. So he's had a track record of this, but this was the one that kind of broke the mold for Robert Ginty, and who looks like, I've always said he looks like Paul McCartney. You give Paul McCartney a sort of mousy sort of blondish hair, mousy sandy brown hair, but it's Paul McCartney's face is meant to be underneath that, wielding this. If you're lying, I'll be back, you know. But Ginty's great. But what happens when they come back to New York? They're both working for like some kind of shipping company, a hauliers, and they're there. And these are all real locations. Glickenhaus filmed New York of its time, almost documentarian style, and it looks wonderful. Well, it looks sleazy and sick and horrible, but it's a beautiful depiction of the real life environment that Manhattan was like at the time. No glitz, no glamour, and a lot of guerrilla filming as well. He'd have his characters walking down the sidewalk across the street, while his camera would be on the other side, on the other sidewalk. So all the people you see going past are watching these characters, and it could be Robert Ginty chatting up a prostitute or something like that. And people walking around are all genuine extras. One genuine extra, Samuel L. Jackson, is in there. I've seen him. He is in a shot. He is there. You've got you've got the famous saxophone player as well. I forgot his name. Stan Getz, who's in there as well in Central Park, and Battery Park as well. They use all these locations, but with a lot of guerrilla filming as well, and it looks amazing. You've captured an era. The Warriors Walter Hill does the same thing. But so they come back, and there's a street gang, the Ghetto Ghouls, led by Ned Eisenberg and Erwin Keyes. Erwin Keyes is he's a big fella. Sadly, he's deceased now, and he's suffered all his life from acromegaly, deformation of the skin, outsized flesh and bone contusions, and complications of that will kill you, and killed him. And of course, the great horror from the Universal and other studios, Rondo Hatton, the great Rondo, the creeper, Rondo Hatton, suffered from this as well, and it killed him. But he plays one of the gang. You've also got it's a Greek name. It's a very Greek name. What is it? Dennis Boutsikaris plays Frankie, who's one of the Ghetto Ghouls, this horrible street gang in New York who are ruling the streets and causing all sorts of bedlam and chaos. He would go on to be in Batteries Not Included. and he's with his long hair and a lovely demeanour, you know, and he's in loads and loads of TV, but he plays a little twat in this. And so the ghetto ghouls are breaking into the haulage company where our two heroes are working, and they're just packing trucks and vans and, you know, unpacking and then packing. They work the night shift, but the ghetto ghouls get in there and they're trying to nick all the beer from this particular, you know, container. And like, again, Robert Ginty gets into strife. So Steve James has to save him again. He saved him in Vietnam. He saves him again from a street gang. But that street gang then come for, because Steve James acted as a fight choreographer on the movie as well. Because he was a big dude, and he could do stuff like. And the idea was, Glickenhaus always says, Robert Ginty's character of John Eastman was not meant to be a Superman. You know, he's meant to be just an average guy, you know, who's get pushed to the limit. But he does know some bits, but only when he's really pushed to the limit can he actually put that into action. Whereas when it comes down to fisticuffs and real agility and aggression, it's his busy mate who can do all that. You saved his ass twice. But the gang come back for him, and they don't kill him, but they cripple him, paralyze him, and it's horrible as well. The Ned Eisenberg, who's the sort of Che Guevara type with wearing a beret and with a little beard and all that. He has like a garden fork, a hand fork, and he rams it into his back, and drags it down his spine, and then twists it all up. Just does his spine, and it's fucking horrible. And that is the incident which obviously inspired Glickenhaus to write and direct this movie, because of what he'd seen in the headlines of New York, you know, and the crimes taking place there. So, John Eastman, Robert Ginty, reenacts revenge. He takes out the street gang horrifically. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. His takedown of the clubhouse with Disco Inferno playing in the background. I'd play it, but you know I can't. And wow, and he's got an M16 there. And the thing is, it's the clubhouse. There's three the ghetto ghouls are in there. You've got Erwin Keyes, the big one, like he's there. The one they call the Animal. Ned Eisenberg's there, and some little hippie guy is in there as well. And they've got three girls, and they're getting their booby bits out and all that. And the Exterminator comes in, M16, just kicks the door down. And he's there like, oh my god, it's brilliant. You watch that scene when he grabs the girls going past. He grabs, Ginty does this, he goes for fucking broke here. He grabs their heads and they're kind of fucking hells them out. Get out, get your girlfriends out of here, get the fuck out of here. But he really just rammed them out the fucking door. Look at the faces on one of the girls. One of the girls is like fucking shocked. The other one's kind of laughing, but she's laughing because she doesn't know what else to do. She's in shock. That will have hurt her head without a doubt. And you know, in the moment, it's fucking real, and I love it. There's liberal use of the N-word during that sequence as well. You know, we didn't hurt you, says Ned Eisenberg with his, he hasn't got his beret on at this time. You know, shit man, you know, that guy was just that N-word. And Ginty comes back superbly. Ginty's very he's a bit like Chuck Norris, he's very softly spoken, and he doesn't have a hard man face at all. He looks like Paul McCartney. You know. And he just goes like, that was my best friend, you motherfucker. And then brings the plastic rifle butt of the M16 down on his head. Although if you do look at it, again, sadly, he clearly hits the pillow above Eisenberg's head. But the effect is still there. He then drags he's killed one already, he drags the other two downstairs into the cellar, ties them up, and then just, oh my god. But one hasn't died. When Christopher George, the great B-movie superstar that is Christopher George, who died about 2 years after making this, having done horror movies for the Italians, City of the Living Dead for Lucio Fulci. Again, connection there, because I thought this artwork could have been zombie flesh eaters from little Lucio Fulci, the little gnome of gore, the Italiano mafioso of splatter. And Christopher George comes in as Detective Dalton to investigate the case. What, someone took out some of the ghetto ghouls? Is that what it's about? Yeah, well, well, where's the coroner? No, he's still puking since he saw it. What do you mean? Well, it's pretty bad. One of them is still alive and we got to him, even though the rats had eaten off half his face. You're like, oh. It's very, very urban, very gritty, very raw. But Eastland doesn't give up at this stage. You know, the RX there is thinking, well, I've got away with that. But my buddy's on life support machine. He's not dead. See, Jefferson isn't dead. The Steve James character is not dead at this stage. And he's got a wife and he's got a couple of kids as well. And they're living in fucking Brooklyn, almost on the Bronx. And you clearly see her working away at home and the kids go off to school and all that. And it's so touching. In a movie like this, you've got some very touching scenes of our exterminator going to see his best buddy's wife and all that, like, and you know, console her, and the best buddy's on a life support machine. So you've got Steve James, who's a great actor and a very physical presence, who's wrapped up completely in like bandages and just his eyes, and he's got little tubes, and it's like the beep, 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 on, you know, the life support machine and all that. So they keep going to see him and all that, and like, and he'll tell him I've done certain things, but listen, don't worry about a thing. I'm going to find the money to look after, you know, your wife and the kids and all that, because he's known that the haulage company is in the back pocket of the mafia. The mafia come in for their cut. And if you're into your movies and Stallone, and again, like Philadelphia and New York and all that, and these urban sort of movies, you've got a guy there called Tony Munafo. Tony Munafo is one of the producers on many Stallone movies, the Rocky movies, Demolition Man, Judge Dredd. He's in there with so many. He's big pally mates with Stallone, and he plays an enforcer. One of the, you've got this mafia kingpin who's lording over things and getting money, you know, extortion. And so every day, Robert Ginty has seen these guys coming in, you know, with their suitcases and their shades on, you know, packing some heat. Just put, where's our cut, you know, and like off they go. And he's thinking, well, there's a way of making money, because the American health system, and again, Vietnam veterans, it is political, and that comes into the movie as well, because we get told that our elections come up in 4 months' time, and we don't need this exterminator on the streets. It's making things very bad. We don't need this bullshit, someone says. So they bring the CIA in to go and try and track him down. I'm racing ahead there. Aren't I so glad that I was right? Because otherwise, I'd be scrambling for things to talk about, going like, oh my god, but I so guessed it was this. So you're getting a review of The Exterminator as well, which I always meant to review, because I think it's a fabulous movie, and it's part of the things that shaped who I am and why I grew up, and why I grew up with like a kind of hardline vigilante dimension as well, which, you know, it's no shock horror there. Most of you know this, and some people know it all too well. But so he realizes, I make money out of this guy. He's been extorting money from our hard-working pay packet, hard-earned pay packet. So he goes after this guy. Now, Glickenhaus always says that I didn't want to show how he does these things, and he's not superhuman. So he follows what's it called? Gino Pontanini, played by a fella called Dick Bocelli, who's wonderful, by the way. This mafia boss. He tracks him down to a restaurant, and he hides in the bin, the plastic bin in the lavatory. You're asking a bit much here, I'll be honest. But Glickenhaus says, I didn't want to be a superhero to take down all the enforcers and the bodyguards and all that. Like, so he waits for him in there, and it's all going to be done very covert. But really, you've shown in the initial fight with the street gang, which Steve James wins, which is why they come after him and demolish him. Eastman, the Exterminator, is actually crap in the fight. He's useless. He gets saved again by his best buddy. And the point being, he's not Jackie Chan. He's not Bruce Lee. Jackie Chan. James Glickenhaus made the film The Protector with Jackie Chan. Didn't like him. Preferred Bruce Lee. Didn't like Jackie Chan's style of fighting. I thought, no, you're not as good. But anyway, so he legs in the bin and he comes out, and the mafia boss is having a big steamy dump, a big pasta-laden dump in the bogs, while his bodyguards are outside, and his young floozy, his trophy bride, is chatting up Tony Munafo, I think, at the time, and but he's got a drug. Syringe, so he gets him, drugs him, has to open the window and get his body out, and then it takes a while to do that, and you'd be making a bit of noise. It is a bit preposterous, but in the scheme of things, it's a nice design of revenge and threat, which becomes revenge, because he's already said once to Dennis Batsuklis, that big Greco fella from Batteries Not Included, when he threatens with the acetylene torch, if you're lying, I'll be back. I'm not lying to you. He even sort of burns his arm slightly, and you see the guy, sorry, I know I'm jumping all over the place, like they were strung up like that together, in the Vietnam, the Viet Cong prison compound, strung up like that, about to be beheaded. He's got him strung up, this ghetto ghoul is asking where, the clubhouse is, how can I find these bastards? They took out my friend. And this guy's going, nothing about that. And he does put the flame on his arm, and you see Dennis Batsuk, what's his name? Boutsikaris he's going, he's trying to blow his arm out. But his eyes are like, oh my God, like, whoa, they're pure Tex Avery, wow, pure big Hanna-Barbera fucking eyes coming out. It's great, but Ginty says to him, like, if you're lying, I'll be back. And he was like, I'm not lying to you. I'm not lying to you. It's genius. So he gets this mob boss, and he takes to a meat factory, which obviously he works in that area as well. He gets the big meat grinder, another famous scene, and he's got him trussed up in chains above this meat grinder. It's like, and this guy's like, what the fuck do you want? What are you punk? Is that goddamn Punchinelli? Punchinelli, isn't that the guy from Chips? Eric Estrada. But a name like that anyway. Shut up. He's got in there, look, you've got money, I want the money. Oh, is that all you want? Look, it gives him the keys to his house in New Jersey. Gives him the keys. This key opens the front door. This key turns off the alarm system. Where's the safe? And he tells him what the combination. But what he doesn't tell him about is his fucking Doberman guard dog that's in there. But our Exterminator, who's now beginning to enjoy his job a bit more, his extracurricular job, just says like, if you're lying, I'll be back. But when he walks out to go and break into this guy's house and steal all the money to look after his mate's family and all that, you've got a great shot of this guy. What's his name again? Oh God, Dick Buccelli is the actor. He's hanging there in these chains. He's looking at you and he's going like, this guy's fucking crazy. He's a fucking nut job. Wait till I get the name. When I get Nick and Tony, I'll cut the fucking balls off them. Somebody get me out of here. Somebody get me out of here. And it's like at the end, his face is just shaking with rage. Exterminator goes to his house, gets attacked by the dog, kills the dog with an electric carving knife, kills the dog. He's been bitten. Just comes back and just goes like, he's put a bit of meat in and shown what it does. And it's like, look, this presses you to go down on the chains. This presses the grinder to turn on. And the guy's going, no. So he comes back, he just goes like, junk. And the guy's going, no. and you hear this horrible scream as he gets grinded up, like, and all the meat comes out the other side. In a strange moment, they then cross-cut to Christopher George, the great Christopher George, from Grizzly, from Mortuary, from, oh my god, so many fucking movies. The Rat Pack, not Rat Pack, the Devil Rats, the Devil Rat Pack Devils. He played US Army in this Commando sort of 60s TV show. I forgot what it's called now. But he's in so many movies. City of the Living Dead for Lucio Fulci, Kampuchea Express, fucking so many movies. And Pieces, another really grisly, gory movie. Grizzly, gore. One of my favourite films is Grizzly, which he's in. I'll put the link to that as well. Do remind me to put these links down below. I always forget to do that. I always say, I'll put the link below. I always go, come to the little description and go, done that now, upload, and then forget to put the links in. Cheers. Look at that. That's fucking amazing. Steve, honestly, mate, you've outdone yourself this time, because that's an image I knew and I thoroughly expected to see, but you really blew it away with all the other stuff around it. And the little addition of me mum down there. Me mum and the Exterminator sharing an image together. Who'd have thought that? So you cut from like the guy going through the mincer, and then you get Christopher George going to meet the doctor who's looking after Steve James, who's in the hospital. You know, on a life support machine, all bandaged up, just his eyes moving, that's all it is. Blink once for yes, blink twice for no, and all that kind of stuff. And Samantha Eggar, who of course had just been in The Brood for David Cronenberg. David Cronenberg, who made Scanners. He did The Brood, then he made Scanners. So Scanners and Exterminator, again, can you see these connections? It's all coming together. And I love connections, love that. And he's the doctor in charge of Michael Jefferson, Steve James. And she's got an attachment now with Christopher George Dalton, the detective, who's also a Vietnam veteran as well. Like, and they're kind of getting it on. They're finding little rooms in the hospital, the Lincoln Hospital in New York. During one sequence, by the way, the Pope who had the assassination attempt on him, arrived there to open or to do something with Lincoln Hospital, and they were filming there at the time. So there's a sequence in the movie where Dalton sees the Exterminator leaving the hospital and runs out after him, and they cut away because he gets into his car. He's only barely dressed because he's been knocking off, you know, what's her name? Megan, is it? Nurse Megan. He's got his gun down his, you know, his pants and all that. Like, but when the car drives off, they cut away because, and you almost see it. There's thousands of people lining the streets across the road because the Pope's just arrived, the Pope, and they're filming the Exterminator at the time. Like, isn't that? You couldn't write that stuff. You couldn't ever time it. If you wanted that to happen, you couldn't make it happen. But it's just one of those things. Oh, by the way, you're filming here. Just let you know, when you come running out with your guns and your cameras and all that, like, only a small crew, low budget independent movie. Just to let you know that the Pope and all the security team are going to be outside. Shit. Well, we've got to film it here tonight. If he gets in the way, then, you know, he'll get in the way. And Glickenhaus actually thought about, can we try and get him in the shot? But how would that have worked in the movie? How would you incorporated the Pope into the movie? It couldn't have worked. And yet it's also one of those things, what a moment, what are those great, you know, just, you'd never get that chance again. But he didn't do it. So again, mafioso guy's been minced up, and then you cut straight to Christopher George going to meet his new bird, you know, the nurse, and they've got a guy there who's completely encased in plaster cast. Again, just his eyes, and like he walks in and he looks at this guy, and she's there taking little notes, and she goes, "I didn't know you were a friend of the family." The family, the guy that got minced was mafia. Didn't know you were a friend of the family. So straight away you think, what? Is that him? But he got minced. And you look at it and you think, it's two legs are there as well. It'd have been great if the legs had been missing. You go, oh my God. But it isn't meant to be him. It's actually the guy from the Ghetto Ghouls, right? Because of the whole case, which Dalton's following, that guy's still alive. One of these was still alive, even though the rats had eaten up half his face. So he's been shot to bits with an M16 and chewed up by rats. That's why he's encased. But Glickenhaus doesn't make that clear, and you're kind of like, what is that meant to be? It's the cross cut, the instant edit from there. You're like, my God. But anyway, it's clever as well, because it throws you. Now, he doesn't just stop with street gangs and hoodlums. He goes on to pimps and paedophiles and corrupt senators, because you've got the sexual angle as well in this. The other scumbags on the street. You have the Chicken Ranch, run by Tony Bene, fucking whatever his Italiano name is, and you know him from a lot of movies as well. And they specialise in taking in young boys. That's made a huge thing of, like, and it's quite very dodgy for its time. It's really putting it out there. Young boys to be used, bruised, abused and butchered and buggered by really seedy bastards. Now, I can't quite remember how this happens, but you see a hooker get brought in off the streets by the guy that runs the Chicken Ranch, and this fucking seedy senator, fat bastard, played by, I didn't write his name down, but he plays a lot of corrupt senators in movies and TV shows, and you recognise him. Just wearing like his outsized fucking nappy, his boxies, big fat twat like, and but he uses a soldering iron on people. He likes to burn people as well. And like, what the fuck's that about? So and Robert Ginty character encounters this hooker that's been took in there and abused and tortured and then been set free again. So she takes the top off and her breasts are completely covered in like huge and utter horrible burns and scalds. Burns and scalds. The film The Burning came out right about the same sort of time as this. The Burning. Wonderful. I've covered it a lot. And I forgot the guy's name, but the guy that plays Cropsey, the maniac in The Burning, he's been burnt in a vicious summer camp prank gone wrong, and then goes back to, take out all the counsellors and all that. Oh, I got his name. Lou David. His name's Lou David, who plays Cropsey. He's in this. He's in this film as well, with Samuel L. Jackson and loads of others. He's there as well, And I think he's just giving out leaflets or something like that. So Ginty sees these horribly burnt breasts, and I'll be honest, you've got to be thinking like, how is she still plying for business if she's disfigured? And why didn't you go to police in the first place? And what's going on there? It just doesn't make any sense. But it leads you. He finds out, what's a Chicken Ranch? It's a place where they take young boys and all that. And so he poses as a guy that's got a couple of young orphans from a junkie mother, and he arrives at this place like, and this fat slimy get opens the door, and he goes like, "I've got a chicken for sale. You interested?" I might be interested, yeah. And he's like, "Well, it's two young boys. Mother's a junkie, so you can't, and she's died. No other relatives, so you can't trace them." And he goes, "Well, okay. You got some pictures?" He goes, and our boy goes, "Pictures? You really are a sick motherfucker. Do you know that?" She's going, "Hey, I'm just trying to take care of business. Our boy goes like, it's funny. That's what I'm doing here as well. I'm just taking care of business. And he's going, oh, okay then, yeah. Fucking grabs him, fucking knees him in the nuts, and then grabs his head and fucking knees him in the face. Boosh! And he flings back and blood goes fuck off out of his gob. And you're like, yes! Fucking yes! They've got torture rooms there with chains and mattresses, handcuffs and all that. Tons of porn all over the walls. And the Videodrome style walls, electrodes could be in there and all sorts. Like, it's a fucking nasty place. But what does our boy do? Holy Jesus. In one of the most extreme scenes, to be honest, he's chained him up clearly. He must have knocked him out and the guy's coming to. He's like, he's chained up on the mattress and he's covering him with like lighter fluid and all that and, you know, flammable liquids. And then a pocketbook of matches. You don't see him burn, but you see the smoke and the steam and you hear the screams. Fuck me, those screams will haunt you forever. It's the guttural scream and then the high-pitched, anguished, really, can't even do it. Why am I even attempting to do it? It'd be like the opening, the chorus of Sugar Baby Love, you know, the high falsetto, and just goes, oh, but it's horrible at the same time. But you know he fucking deserved it. And in the meantime, we've seen Robert Ginty's character. He's been drilling down. He's got a Magnum 44. It's a Smith & Wesson number 9, I think, model 9. But it's a Magnum 44. And he's drilled down into his bullets and he's put mercury in them. But it's something you'd see in a lot of movies and a lot of Pulp Fiction novels at the time, like put mercury in there because it's even worse when you get shot. It can shoot you in the thumb and you're still gonna die a horrible death. And so he's done that and the screaming took place. And this senator comes out in his little nappy again, and he sees Robert Englund, Burns, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger. Again, the connections. And he's there with his gun. And this guy runs back into this room, fucking breaks the door down. He's there with his Magnum. And there's a guy who's clearly being raped and buggered, you know, who's chained to the bed, sort of, you know, he's been sort of, what you call it? Something over his gob so he can't speak or scream. And this guy's going, oh, like that. And he shoots him. But he shoots him there, right? Which is where Bub shoots Captain Rhodes in Day of the Dead. And in Day of the Dead, you know, I get that. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm only going to wound you. And Bub just goes, and then walks off as all the other zombies close on Rhodes and tear him into. And Rhodes is going, choke on him! The great Joe Palazzo, choke on him! It's awesome. But in Exterminator, I've always wondered, why did he fucking shoot him there? Shoot him in the big fat belly, shoot him in the head. We want to see that. But I think the point is that the mercury is going to really fuck him up anyway. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That's the mercury repeating on me. And one way of deadening that, of course, the time-honoured method. And he saves this lad. Now the lad is over 18, but this entire sequence is horrible. It's genuinely horrible. And then obviously he saves the guy, obviously sets him loose, whatever he does. I don't even know. You don't know what Eastman does between these incidents. How is he living and how is he saving people and, you know, killing others and getting away with it? It's just, but it's meant to be jarring. Glickenhaus says it's meant to be jarring. You're not meant to know. It's a series of, it's almost comic book. It's a series of set pieces. That's all it is. But on a theme. So Dalton, Christopher George, gets there, and I love this irony here. They show the burnt body of this guy. Oh, by the way, did I say before about the dummy getting beheaded? Did I say this? It was Dick Smith who did the effects for The Exorcist, Taxi Driver, and The Sentinel for Michael Winner, who did Death Wish and all the Death Wish movies. It's him that supplied the poor guy that gets his head beheaded to that point there. He did that, and the effect was so realistic that James Glickenhaus can't even remember, did I use the real actor at all in that scene? They did. I've watched it. They did. But the dummy twists and moves as well. Even when the heads come off, the hands are still going. It's really, really good effect, and the head is so convincing. But Thomas Behrman, who did many of gory effects for many movies, does all the rest of the stuff. But Dick Smith was brought in for that particular effect. So, but you've got this burnt body on the mattress, and oh God, and they're all going, Jesus Christ. But the film ran into censorship problems with the MPAA because obviously it's violence. They had to take down certain scenes slightly frame by frame. But they had, in this chicken ranch, you had all these, it's all fucking, it's all blokes, fucking big dongers on them and all that in the background. But one picture had the big erect penis. So, and you're not looking at that. You're looking at the charred body. No, you're not asked about that. Unfortunate use of phrase there. But, so they had to mat it out. And if you look in even the full uncut version there, I can't quite tell about the old Betamax version because I can't play it. I can't play that anymore. But that would be interesting to see. Although I don't want to go hunting down for an erect penis. I don't want to do that. Oh my God, in a video where I've talked about my mum and the Exterminator and paedophiles, and I'm talking about erect penises as well. Steve, what have you done to me? What have you reduced me to? My God, sir. But it would be interesting to see if that, which was admittedly a cut down version, because the extended scene of the beheading and the hand fork going into Steve James's back and twisting his spine up, that was cut as well. So would that matted out shot would still be in that? I don't know. The MPAA said, you've got to do something about that. So it's a clumsy sort of, blocky little mat which moves around. And yet, here's the irony for it. Dalton, Christopher George, has a chat with some journalist, a gorgeous blonde woman. He's like, come on, Dalton, if you're here, it's got to be the Exterminator, hasn't it? And he's like, I'm saying nothing. In the background behind those two in that conversation is just loads of pictures of naked men with big tools. Now, Christopher George posed for Playgirl with his own big tool out. He did. In reviews of Grizzly and the commentary track for Grizzly, which I did, I've discussed all this. Yeah, he did all of that as well. So it's kind of weird that he's there, And Christopher George always has a great smirk on his face, I think. And it's almost like he knows, yeah, I've done all that as well, Yeah, you want to see what I've got? These are nothing compared to me. I've got the real Grizzly down here, But so, our Exterminator, having now took out paedophiles, pimps and scumbags and mafia, he then encounters the street gang again. There's other members of the street gang. The guy he got the information of, the Greek name, Dennis Boutsoukakis, him and the surviving members of the Ghetto Ghouls, including Mark Buntsman. Now, Mark Buntsman plays the burping ghoul, they call him. He's drinking, he's going, and all that. He's a producer on this movie, and he's the guy that actually directed the dire, woeful sequel to The Exterminator, Exterminator 2, also starring Robert Ginty. But we may talk a bit more about that at the end. But it really isn't worth it, though. Cheers, y'all. You have this old woman going through, I presume it's Central Park, or it might be Battery Park again. I think it's Battery Park. coming through, overhanging tree, an arch of trees, and you know she's got her groceries there. But it's night. She shouldn't go shopping at night and come back at night. And these three ghouls drop out the trees on her and smack her, knock her to the ground, get all the bits off. This is for you. This is for you. This is for you to the victim. And this is for me. And it's a horrible fucking sequence. It really, I really don't like it at all. I like Dennis Boutsikalis. I think he's a great actor, but I don't like seeing him in that moment. He's horrible because he even kicks her in the face and then stamps on her glasses. An innocent motorcyclist, young guy, comes up, pulls up like that, and he's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" And he pulls a knife on him. It's like, "Yeah, you want to be John Wayne? You want to be a hero?" And he's like, "No." And they get out. They've got this fabulous Corvette, the Ghetto Ghouls Corvette, and they bug out in that. And then a great shot. Glickenhaus uses this sort of style of a static shot. It's low budget filmmaking again. A static shot, and everything's happening in the foreground, but your main guy or your main character is going to come out in the same shot of the rear background, out the shadows, and move into the shot. And then all of a sudden the camera might tilt upwards, and you'll get like, you've got two shots for the sake of, you're only doing one take, you've got two shots out of it. And he does it a lot in this movie as well. And Ginty comes up like that, but he's got his Magnum out. Ginty wears an M65 combat jacket as well. Because at this time, you had First Blood, well, 82, so a couple of years afterwards, but you had 81 as well, Southern Comfort, Walter Hill. M65 jackets are plenty, and Ginty's wearing an M65 as well throughout a lot of this movie. And he pulls out the Magnum, and this poor guy's, you know, a do-gooder, you know, he's trying to help, you know, but again, he can't be seen, can he, you know, because, you know, Jesus, you know, I'm known, I'm the Exterminator, because the press all know about him now, and he's like, lift your head up again, I'll blow your fucking head off, you know, and he's like, oh my god, like that, and he's trying to help this old woman, but Ginty takes his helmet and his motorcycle and goes after these ghetto ghouls. This is fucking great, this chase sequence. If you look at it, it's not the greatest of chase sequences, but, you know, it still works, and in some shots, and it's kind of bizarre, the guys driving the car are clearly stuntmen who are much older than the guys that they're meant to be playing, and you see them for too long and you go, oh, that isn't even them. But hey, look, it's old independent filmmaking. They're cruising down the streets and they're you know, what we get, and they're trying to divide it all up. And there's three of them sitting in the front seats, three of them sitting there, like, including that Mark Buntsman who produced this movie and would direct Exterminator 2. They're there, and you've got Dennis Boutsikalis there as well. And they pull up at a red light. Why would they be remotely arsed about pulling up at a red light, a stop sign? They've just mugged, she would probably die, that poor old woman, of shock and heart attack or whatever, or complications. She's gonna die. And they've just done that and gleefully laughed it off, and then threatened someone else, and then just done a runner. You know, why would they be asked about a fucking stop sign? But they pull up at a stop sign, but they think it's the same motorcyclist coming down, and they're going, sorry. Stop sign. Boutsikalis gets out. His name is Frankie. His character's name's Frankie. Gets out. It's like, hey, what? You back again? Are you? What, you think you're fucking John Wayne? And like, it's Ginty puts the visor up and goes, you think there's someone else, friend? And the guy's going, because last time we saw him, he said, if you're lying, I'll be back. So how did he fucking get out? And wouldn't you have gone back and killed him anyway? Because he's part of the ghetto ghouls. Oh, plot holes are plenty. But Ginty pulls out the Magnum. Boom. And you see a ring, sort of a corona of of gunpowder and the impact, not the impact, but I think you're meant to think it's the mercury as well. I'm not too sure. Most gunshots don't produce an effect like that, but it does look good. And the next, you see, he's been blown back over the back of the fucking Corvette. Oh, he's dead. And the other two guys, fuck that. Mark Buntsman fucking floors it, drives off. Ginty gets back on the bike and drives off after them. And you have this crazy sort of chase sequence, which ends up with them crashing. They plow into something. He goes over like a sort of like a bridge and lands in the old Star Wars of a lot of cardboard boxes. But it doesn't look fake. It looks like, well, they're there, and he has just ploughed over this and gone into them. It doesn't look stupid, if you know what I mean. But he's been injured, and the bike's crippled. And these guys see him down there. Right, let's drive around. Let's go and finish this fucker. And they come driving around. Excellent use of slow motion and close-ups and that. And Ginty has to leg it, go under like a barrier. They get stuck going through the barrier. They hit another car, have to reverse, come out. In the meantime, he's got the gun out in slow-mo with the M65 flapping in the breeze. Right for the windscreen, takes out the driver. Whoa. Car just spins over and goes over to the edge. It's a flyover, and it falls over in slow motion, flips, kaboom. It was the biggest staged explosion in New York City ever. This is 1980. You've had King Kong, you've had Towering Inferno, you've had fucking millions of movies of explosions in New York and that, but that was the biggest real explosion ever staged in New York City. Oof. So big it blew my notes off the side there. And the real New York Fire Brigade are actually there putting flames out and all that. So Dalton, Christopher George, will realise who it is, because Ginty goes in to see Steve James, and he said, "Look, I've got money sorted out and everything, but basically you're not going to make this. What do you want to do? Do you want to live? Do you want to die? Do you want me to shut this machine off? Blink once for twice, blink once for twice, blink once for yes, blink twice for no, and all." And basically he just said, the eyes do it all, kill me now. So he has to unplug his mate and kill his mate, and you understand why. And then to make doubly sure, he uses a knife and fucking cuts the wire as well. Alarms go off. Now in the meantime, this is when the Pope is at Lincoln Hospital. This is the exact same time. And you've got Christopher George and Samantha Egg are getting it on in the background in a little room somewhere. Alarms go off. Ginty walks out, zips up his M65, walks out, gets into an elevator, and Christopher George comes out having just been shagging Samantha Eggar. And Ginty looks at him and just goes, "Your fly's undone." And it's a great moment actually. And so you have Christopher George going like, "Oh, shit," and then the lift doors shut, off he goes. Samantha Eggar comes running back. "Oh, what happened?" Someone switched off a life support machine. He went, "Who was it?" He goes, "It was Michael Jefferson." He goes, "That was Jefferson." And he goes, I've just seen the Exterminator." And I gets his clothes on, comes running out, and that's when the Pope was outside. So that shot's kind of curtailed, and but it's great. You've already seen that Robert Ginty's character has his his crate of stuff from Vietnam. Gotta work this out really. I've spoken to people who are much old. Well, they're old. Well, actually, most of them are dead now. Who are Vietnam veterans. Did you bring anything back? I've spoken to people who came back from the Falklands and then left the forces. Did you bring much stuff back? There is a select handful of people that did bring stuff back, and I know that for a fact because there's somebody around here that has a lot of stuff which he brought back. I don't know how he did it, because when I left the Marines, I came back with a lot of kit, but no weapons. But seemingly, certainly in American movies, it's de rigueur to come back with lots of incredible weaponry. The Exterminator has a crate of all his weapons, and my God, he's got grenades, he's got flares, he's got a Luger in there as well. He's got all sorts of fucking shit in there. But now Dalton realizes that what he's going up against, and back in his police precinct office, where he can string a hot dog together through the cable for his desk lamp and put two forks into it, which you can do, by the way, you can do but be very fucking careful. It will cook it, it will, but just switch it off before you try to, because you'll be as much of a hot dog as the actual sausage itself. And he's got one of these crates as well, and when he opens it up, my God, he's got some good stuff in there. And I think my one big disappointment with the movie is that we don't see these guys go for it, as in like a big battle sequence. Glickenhaus always says that, well, Eastman and Dalton are the same character, but one wears a badge for the police. He wore a badge, an insignia for the army. He was a ranger. It's funny that in the opening Vietnam sequence, only Eastman is wearing tiger stripe combat fatigues, which SEALs and Rangers and Special Forces wore. The rest who were there, including Steve James, who you presume is part of the same battalion, is wearing just normal jungle camouflage, but not tiger stripes. So it's kind of like, what the hell? It's just annoying me that. And so they're wearing. Fucking hell! Stop singing at me. I wish I had the soundtrack for the Exterminator, but I just don't. Sadly, I don't. So, but yeah, you've got this sort of. They've got different camouflage patterns on, so they can't be part of the same unit. A lot of stuff was locally made, and they would have, they would get it there while they're in field, but I don't know. I don't quite know how that all works out. But Dalton has, he has a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun, which is, I don't want to see him use it. And they take a long time showing him putting the cartridges in and then putting some more in his pocket, and you think, my God, they're going to do this. And then he and a SWAT team go and assault the apartment of the Exterminator. They've worked out who it is, and they go there because he isn't there. Now, if you look at that sequence, and I can't verify this, folks, and I've tried before on several occasions when reviewing zombie flesh eaters, doing written reviews for AV forums and other reviews for other forums and magazines and stuff. So, I'm talking about the Exterminator before as well. There is a guy in this sequence who's a SWAT team guy who goes in when they've got people on the rooftops and all that, like, and they've gone up on the outsides, and they're everywhere. It's a great sequence, and but you have a guy that follows Dalton, Christopher George, into Eastland's apartment, sledgehammer down the door, and they go straight in. Like, the guy behind Dalton is the guy that gets his throat bitten out on the boat at the start of Zombie Flesh Eaters by Lucio Fulci, who directed Christopher George in City of the Living Dead. It is that guy. And that guy is meant to be a real-life Harbour Patrol officer. That's what everyone said about the making of Zombie Flesh Eaters. And yet here he is, the year after. That was 79, Flesh Eaters. 80, making this. It's him. His mum was a line or two. You don't really hear him speak properly. But it's him. I can't find his name, and fuck me, I have tried to get this confirmed, and I just can't do it. But take it from me, that's the same guy who gets his throat ripped out, and it goes on the boat. Eastman comes back and sees, well, they're not exactly subtle. You've got SWAT team guys on the roof, caps turned backwards, fucking sniper rifles and all sorts. A lot of customized rifles there, which they do use. You're a sniper. You will change your weaponry to suit you. You'll know exactly what equipment you need to use, how to modify it. So a lot of it's customized. So they've got them on the rooftop there, and he sees the police cars outside and all that. Right, fuck that. They're on to me. Shit. So he makes a phone call to his apartment, a bit like John Doe really in Seven, and speaks to Dalton, and basically he's going to arrange to meet Dalton in the New Jersey Docklands, an old about to be junked US warship. So this is the end of the movie, and he will meet him there, and it kind of shades of Magnum Force a little bit, because you've got Dalton's tooled up, and off he goes to meet him. I mentioned the CIA before, and yeah, the CIA are there, and sadly, I think Glickenhaus kind of drops the ball a bit here, because you get a shot of them. They're in a crane and they've got a sniper rifle, and because they've sort of eavesdropped on the call that Eastman made to his own apartment, and Dalton took the call, so they know where to meet him. Did you get a trace on that call? No, we went quick enough. But he's told them where he's going to meet him, so he's going to meet Dalton at this place, like, and what he's done, he's set up. In that initial Nam flashback, there's lots of stakes with red lights on them. This is like Indian Dunes again, like as I say, where they filmed it. But it does look good, and you've got like the river there and all that, and the canyons. They put loads of foliage in there and jungly bits, monkeys and snakes they put in there as well. This is the Vietnam flashback. But these red stakes with like red lights on them. If you look in the film as well, there's also a stake with a skull on it, an American helicopter pilot's helmet on as well, which is dead bizarre and kind of scary as well. Like, and but the Exterminator has set up all these sort of stakes with like red flare lights on them, and Dalton gets up to where it says like, and like he throws like a flashbang and a smoke grenade, and then leaps off the top onto him, and the two of them tussle a bit. He's got the gun on Dalton, and Dalton's like, fuck, you know, and he just goes and flips it round to give him the gun, because he's giving himself up. He's going to give himself up, but Dalton comes forward and gets a bullet. The bloody CIA shoots him, and he falls into the Exterminator, who holds him. He's like, you had to do it, didn't you, Dalton? You had to tell him. He's like, I didn't tell anyone, you know, I fucking didn't tell anyone. Well, you can't trust anyone these days, can you? Or whatever the hell they talk about, but Dalton knows he's going to die, so he's just like, look, I'll cover you. Take your gun, just get away, get away. So suddenly he's giving, you know, all the power back to the Exterminator. Yeah, because basically you've been doing the job that we should be doing. The 70s and the 80s, in fact the 60s as well, if you take the westerns in, a man's got to do what a man's going to do. Vigilantes. If the police can't do it, and the courts and the juries don't do it, and the law, the justice system is corrupt and fucked up, it takes us on the streets to do it for you. So, and he's realised this. Look, we are peace with the same pod, but I'm governed by the law. But fuck it, I'm dying. Take your gun, get away. So, he's like, I'll cover you. As we get up, he's about to shoot at them, and they get him again, and he's like, wow. And so Dalton gets killed. But you've got the Exterminator is on the rail of the ship, and they get him, and he gets blown up the side. And another mimicking the start of the movie, where the big explosion, the opening shot, massive flame ball explosion in Vietnam, and a body tumbling down head first, which is meant to be Eastman's character. And of course, it ends with Eastman's character tumbling head first, but now into water, into the Hudson Bay. And you got the CIA going, ha ha ha, great shot. Well, that's sorted then, isn't it? The action will be fine, blah, blah, blah. And but as dawn rises the next day, you've got the final shot is of the Exterminator arriving on Liberty Island. And he's got a flak jacket on, like, which you do see him wearing at the start of the movie as well. And he takes his jacket off and he swings it around, and the Exterminator lives on. Clearly, because he then did Exterminator 2. Robert Ginty returned for that. It's fucking awful. It's a fucking awful movie. Like, Death Wish from Michael Winner is a great movie. And you've got so many, you know, what would be famous stars in that, like playing scumbags, and then Jeff Goldblum, one of the rapists as well. And then you got Death Wish 2 when he moves to LA. which is a much nastier movie. It really is. But I love it though. But it's a fucking horrible movie. And then you got Death Wish 3, which was filmed in London, in East London Docklands. Not New York. It was London. But it's meant to be New York. And it's a wasteland. It's fucking garbage. It is garbage. Enjoyable, but garbage. Exterminator 2 is very, very similar to Death Wish 3. It's overblown. Gangs are everywhere. It's pure cartoon, comic book, OTT shite. He doesn't wear. I mean that image there. He's not wearing a fucking motorcycle helmet and wielding an acetylene lamp. He's got a fucking welder's suit on and a big fucking flamethrower. But it's awful and it's cut to ribbons. It was a much more violent movie than what you see now, and without the violence, there's no point to it. Without the actual graphic stuff, there's 0 point. James Glickenhaus was approached to do a sequel, and he went, "Nah, story's been told, not doing it." He moved on to Codename The Soldier with Ken Wall, and then The Protector with Jackie Chan, and loads of other movies, and I'm producing and writing a lot of stuff now. Well, then, I'm not sure what he's doing now, to be honest. Don't think he's doing much at all. He's a much older guy now. But The Exterminator still ranks as an incredible sort of turning point. If you were of a certain age, that film came out and it blew you away. It lives in your mind as being far more violent and explicit than it really is. But it really does touch on a lot of things. The way they brought in the paedophilia and the scumbag seedy fucking sex trafficking and the violence and abuse that brings in there. You know, that was you hadn't seen that. Taxi Driver did it to a degree, but a Maniac covered, you know, prostitution and, you know, all this sort of stuff. But Exterminator went further with it, because brought in, you know, an even nastier element, if he could be any nastier, if you know what I mean. But our boy goes in there and sorts that out. The chicken ranch got barbecued, literally, you know. Folks, I was going to review. If I was right about this, I was going to review The Exterminator separately. Just fucking done it, haven't I? I've done it. This has been like an hour and 40 minutes almost. And we've covered The Exterminator quite emphatically now. I think it's a great movie. It's a B movie. It's very abridged. It's very sort of... he gets from one scene to another. There's no explanation as to how he got Dennis Boutsikalis in the first place. But you'd like to know how he did that. But it's also, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What he does is great. And he is fighting the good fight, the righteous fight, the one true justice, which is the law of the land. You fuck about, you hurt someone innocent, the law will just protect you, look after you. I think that's wrong, don't you? I do. If you commit a heinous crime, then you should suffer. Simple as. And then you get the argument like, well, what gives you the right to do that then? Because then if you do that, you exact revenge upon them, then someone has to do revenge upon you. Yeah, it's a massive can of worms, but an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Someone fucks about with you or yours, you fuck about with them. Badly. As what is it now? Sean Connery in The Untouchables says to Elliot Ness, you know, he sends one of yours to the hospital. You send one of his to the morgue. You know, and okay, you send one of his to the morgue. That's exactly right. Take the fuckers down. Take them down. Done my part in this. I've done no. Keep threatening to do this. I have never accepted villainy on the streets or corruption, and I have took action against it. Legally, not a bit of it. Emphatically, you bet your ass. And have they done it again? No fucking way. But if the justice system is brought into place, they get looked after, they get fed, they get TVs, they get, they don't have to worry about storms and cost of living crisis and energy crisis. They'll be looked after, and then they'll be rehabilitated and brought back out to society with a support package around them, and then go and commit crimes again. It ain't right. The Exterminator, this boy, he got it right. Oh, by the way, machetes here. I had one of the world's worst masks over there. That's the mask from Michael Myers for the Rob Zombie remake. I do like the look of that mask, but that's not one of the better masks. I modified it. It looks way better than it initially did. I was going to set that up. I've got a mannequin, and I was going to slice through it like he does. And I was hoping I could rig up the head to go and hang there, but I couldn't work out. And I thought, well, what if I'm wrong? What if it isn't Exterminator? Well, I'll do all that for nothing. Now I know I'm going to do that. I'm going to rig that head up, or a head, and I'm going to reenact that scene. It's funny, because in the initial sequence, the Nam flashback sequence, George Chung just goes with the machete. He just walks up to it and just goes, hang on, let's see if we can do this. Should bring it over here. He just goes, so you got the poor guys trussed up like that. He's going, It's the other side actually. Oh, let's do it that way then. Let's see if I can do it this way. Because I'm right-handed, so this could go tits up here. Can you take direction? It just goes, when you attack the Lombard. It's like, right. And Joe Mazzetti's music turns very sinister, very synthesized, and he just goes, what's up to me? He just goes like, in the back of his neck like that. He just goes, and then in the next shot, he just slices through in slow motion, like, and the head just goes like that and hangs off, and blood goes. But in the flashback, in the remembrance sequence later on, after they've had the tussle with the ghetto ghouls and the shipping company, which Steve James dominates and decimates everybody there. It's brilliant. They're sitting on top of the apartment block, and they're feeding the pigeons and all that. Like, you want to shoot some pool? Well, I got to see my kids before they go off to school and all that. Like, and well, I'll see you later then. Yeah, and the Exterminator has he's cut his finger slightly, and he looks at it. He's like, and he remembers that sequence. But in that in his flashback to the flashback, George Chung goes like that, and it's like, he does this big scream, and you see his mouth vocally screaming. Now, that's not how it is. He just goes, and the head just goes, woo. But in the flashback to the flashback, he just goes, Rah! So it's that weird. But is that playing with how memories really are? That memories play tricks upon you? I don't know. Folks, look at the jugs. Hey, look at the jugs on that, Steve, I seriously can't believe how good that is. I was totally and utterly expecting that, just that, And I thought, that'll be great enough. And I thought, I've got it right. But that, mate, is infinitely better. I cannot believe how good that is. And the juxtaposition of the Vietnam jungles in New York, sweet Jesus Christ, and the inclusion of me mum. God. Mum. But she bought that, went into a big video, a very seedy warehouse in Liverpool back in like 1980, 81. Well, it would be 81. And found that. Had a list of 100 movies, all horrible, gory, nasty thrillers and horrors. And she said, have you got this? And have you got this? And they found those 70 quid a piece. 70 quid, folks. Back then, it's because videos they were a super commodity. They were super. You couldn't buy them, so you had to buy them at this kind of outrageous price. Ridiculous. Obviously, dealers, libraries buy them, and they make the money back within a week. Well, within a couple of days. It was a big title, you know. Well, there you go. It's funny how James Glickenhaus would not do a sequel to this, although Mark Bunsman did. He always said that the opening shot of First Blood of Rambo with his M65 combat jacket on and his kit bag and his duffel bag and all that, coming down the street, you know, heading towards that little fucking pissant town, Jerkwater, USA. He said, that's the sequel. That's our boy. That's him. He's survived all the events of the Exterminator, and that's how he's come to be. I like that. It doesn't work out. David Morrell wrote the book way before this was made, The First Blood. But First Blood, Johnny Rambo is not that character. Johnny Rambo has got he's troubled and traumatized. He's not. He's got memories, but he seems to be quite happy at the start with his camaraderie with his wartime buddy. They've got a good job. They're hanging it together, you know. It's all working out. They're in a sleaze pit of Manhattan, but seem happy enough. And then you get Johnny Rambo's got these super skills, and he's much bigger and brawnier, you know, and he's got all these skills. Whereas Glickenhaus was always saying, I'm not making him a muscle-bound warrior who's got martial arts skills. He's not like that, but he's got tactics and a covert sense about him, and once he's been pushed too far, he will use those old skills again. But he can't, you know, stand his ground in a proper mano-a-mano fight. He can't, as he's proved in the movie, but give him a weaponry, he's fine. So anyway, folks, The Exterminator. This has been a fabulous unboxing of a fabulous bit of movie canvas artwork, courtesy of our good friend Steve 7 Smith, who has knocked it out the park again. Knocked it out the Central Park and the Battery Park with an acetylene lamp up its ass, you know. It's fabulous, and with the old Alpha logo as well. It was Alpha Video and Intervision and Avco Embassy, so it's fucking amazing. And again, the timeless, iconic imagery of the Twin Towers. Wow. There you go, folks. Big video there, big video. And we have another unboxing to do later. But you got a review of The Exterminator there. So, you know, folks, I have been always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, and this justice system knocking in between time, please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic, and an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Someone fucks with you, you fuck back with them, but you up the ante a little bit. I've always said it since a young age. It's how I was brought up, and I still adhere to it now. So, Happy days. I'm going to see you all. Woof. Ow. Don't drop that helicopter on my head, said Vic Morrow. Oh. And what did he go and do? One job. Yeah, one job. Fly it over them. No, you don't land on them. Oh, God. Leaders. So, I'm going to try and recreate that beheading sequence. I did do the Scanners one live on camera. No cutaways, just me. I'm not saying it was great, but I did do it. So I'll put that link below. You were meant to remind me of that. The Exterminator fucking rocks. Cheers, Steve.